For millions of baseball fans all around the world, MLB Opening Day is one of the greatest days of the year, a day to celebrate the game we all love as fans and players alike go back to business as usual. But for fans of Cleveland and Toronto in 2012, what they got on opening day was more than just business as usual. Instead, they were treated to a game that lasted 16 innings and saw 14 pitchers, 540 pitches, a 5-man infield, a 9th inning comeback, a 45-year-old defensive replacement, and a game-winning go-ahead homer. This is the story of the weirdest opening day game of all time. This is Sports Oddity. It's April 5th, 2012. We're at Progressive Field in downtown Cleveland, where Cleveland's baseball team was getting set to take on the Toronto Blue Jays in their first game of the year. At the time, neither of these teams was expected to make much noise that season, but they did have the building blocks for the great teams that they would eventually become just a few years later. For Toronto, this was their third year of trying to build a core around Jose Bautista and Edwin Encarnacion, while in Cleveland, they were trying to do the exact same thing with players like Carlos Santana and Jason Kipnis. But while both of these teams would do some amazing things just a few years from now, at the time they were just two mediocre ball clubs who were pretty evenly matched with each other. However, if you had only watched the first 8 innings of this ball game, you would come away with the conclusion that Cleveland was the much stronger team, and a lot of that had to do with their pitcher for the night, Justin Masterson. At that point in his career, Masterson was probably best known for being one of only a handful of players in MLB history to be born in Jamaica. But he was also coming off his greatest season ever in 2011, and he was showcasing some real potential as an ace for the Cleveland team going forward. But while he may not have lived up to that hype in the 2012 season, he was certainly looking the part on opening day. His season would start with 3 straight strikeouts of Yunel Escobar, Kelly Johnson, and Jose Bautista on 14 pitches, an inning that would really set the tone for the rest of his game. Over his 8 innings of work, Masterson gave up only 1 run on just 2 hits, with his only blemish coming on a Jose Bautista home run in the 4th inning. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball was Blue Jays starter Ricky Romero, who unfortunately would not be as lucky. In fact, his night would be ruined in just the 2nd inning, where he'd ultimately give up 4 runs, largely thanks to a 3-run home run off the bat of Jack Hanahan. But aside from that offensive outburst in the 2nd, this was largely a pitcher's duel for the first half of this game. In fact, after Bautista's home run in the 4th inning, both teams would combine to get just 2 hits between then and the bottom of the 8th inning, which makes what happens next just that much stranger. By the top of the 9th inning, many of the fans in the stands were likely making their way towards the exits. After all, Cleveland was up 4-1, and they were giving the ball to all-star closer Chris Perez in an easy save situation. Realistically, this should have been an open and shut save for one of the best closers in baseball. But unfortunately for Perez, the top of the Blue Jays order had different plans. Yunel Escobar and Kelly Johnson would both start off the inning with singles to center field. Jose Bautista would then hit Escobar in from third base on a sacrifice fly. Perez would then give up a walk to Adam Lind, and Lind would then score on a 2-run double to left by Edwin Encarnacion. When he was first put into the game to replace Masterson, Perez and Cleveland were up by 3 runs. And now, in the span of just 5 hitters, that lead was completely gone. And though they were able to finally get JP Arencibia to ground out to end the inning, more on him in a bit, the damage had already been done. We were going to extras. After that blow-up in the top of the 9th inning, things went largely back to the way they were heading into extras, with Francisco Cordero, Vinny Pastano, Carlos Villanueva, and Joe Smith largely taking care of business. However, things started to get interesting once again heading into the 12th inning. In the top half, Joe Smith got 2 quick outs before giving up a double and getting replaced in the game. He was replaced by Tony Sipp, who came in and immediately gave up a walk and then intentionally walked the bases loaded. Unfortunately for the Jays, however, Sipp would get Rajay Davis to hit a fly ball to left and end the inning. Riding on the high of getting a major stop with the bases loaded, Cleveland had their best opportunity yet to walk it off. After a Casey Kotchman strikeout to start the inning, they would get a walk, a single, and then another walk to load the bases with 1 out. Hanging on the edge of losing in brutal fashion and desperate for any way to try and keep this game going, the Blue Jays decided to get weird. Knowing that their only chance of keeping this game going is getting a double play ball, they decided to put everything into getting a ground ball in the infield. So they brought in Eric Thames from left field, yes, that Eric Thames, in order to replace him with a 5th infielder. And luckily for the Jays, they had just the right man for the job, 45-year-old Omar Vizquel, who at that time was entering his last season as a Major League ball player. After receiving a nice ovation from the Cleveland fans he played in front of for so long, Vizquel took his spot out on the field, where the Jays and their 5-person infield attempted to make a miracle happen and keep this game going. And luckily for them, their prayers would be answered.
Vizquel will be the turning point.
Cabrera bounces it right at the shortstop. They go to second for 1, and they get the double play.
After already giving up a 3-run lead earlier in this game, Cleveland came into a bases-loaded 1-out situation and somehow managed to not walk off the game. And so, they played on, and the bats went quiet once again for both teams. In what can only be accounted for by sheer exhaustion at this point, both teams managed to only combine for 1 hit between innings 13 through 15. However, in a game like this, there's always a moment where the straw breaks the camel's back. And for this game, that moment would finally come in the top of the 16th inning. After Brett Lawrie walked to start the inning and Vizquel reached on a fielder's choice, the Jays faced runners on first and second with nobody out, which brought up J.P. Arancibia to the plate with the chance to put the Jays up for good. Up until this point in the game, today has just not been Arancibia's day. Not only has he had to squat behind the plate for all 15 innings of this game so far, but he is also coming up to the plate rocking an 0 for 6 with 3 strikeouts on his ledger. But now, he has an opportunity to put all of that behind him and finally steal away the game from Cleveland. And given the way this game has been going for the entire time, you can probably guess what happened next.
1-2. Long drive, deep left. And that is gone.
That's why you don't bunt. He comes back, he gave him 1 swing, he gave him the bunt, and then he hits a hanging slider for a 3-run homer.
That 3-run bomb would ultimately serve as the nail in the coffin for Cleveland, and a dagger in the heart of all the Cleveland fans who had stayed through this entire game in the stands. In the bottom half of the inning, it was clear that Cleveland just didn't have anything left in the tank, and after a ground out, a walk, and 2 more ground outs, the Blue Jays finally put the game to bed for good. The final result was a Blue Jays win by a score of 7-4, in a game that ultimately lasted 5 hours and 14 minutes, 16 innings, and over 500 pitches. To this day, it is still the longest opening day game in MLB history, and certainly one of the weirdest games that the league had ever seen. But above all else, it serves as a reminder of the sheer randomness of baseball, and how a game like this could happen at any time and at any place during the MLB season. That randomness is one of the most beautiful things about this game, and one of the things that keeps us baseball fans coming back year after year after year. Because ultimately, you never really know what's gonna happen next. So with that being said, happy opening day everyone, and here's to another year of beautiful baseball randomness to come. How's it going, everyone? Connor here with the Diamond, and thank you so much for watching this episode of Sports Oddity. If you like what you saw, you can check out more of our content by clicking the link right next to me, or if you're in the mood for more baseball content, we've curated some of our favorite baseball videos into a playlist that you can check out down below. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media at The Diamond US on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.